Well, now the Socio-Economic Rights and Accountability Project, Serap, has called on President Bola Tinubu to follow the lead of Abia State Governor Alex Otti by promptly obeying a court order mandating the federal government to recover pensions received by former governors. The judgment, delivered on November 26, 2019, by Justice Oluremi Oguntoyibo, came after a suit by Serap. Now, Otti recently repealed the Abia State Governors and Deputy Governors Pension Law number 4 of 2001, following approval by the House of Assembly. Now, former President Olusegun Obasanjo also urged state governors to emulate Otti's action and repeal laws allowing pensions for former governors and deputies, labeling such laws as rascality and acts of daylight robbery. Now, Serap has emphasized the need for immediate compliance with the judgment, warning that failure to do so would allow former governors, deputies, and even current ministers and National Assembly members to evade accountability for their actions. It reported that 22 states, including Lagos, Akwa Ibom, Edo, Delta, and some others, have passed life pension laws for former governors and public officials. Notably, President Tinubu, a former Lagos state governor, is entitled to pension benefits, adding complexity to the issue at hand. Oh well. Well, let's delve into this conversation now. We have with us in the studio Mr. Akin Fatunke. Pension laws, life pension, as it has made politics a lot more enticing. Has made being in the corridors of power a lot more enticing for these individuals that are holding tightly to their positions. They go from senators to governors, back to senators, and they to ministers. They just revolve around, and monies are being allocated for these things. There's a list that came up yesterday. States are owing 800 billion, and all of that, to most of it going to payment of officials, former governors, former deputy governors. What are your thoughts on this, really?
Sorry, sir. Before you go through that thought, I was just going to call your attention to the pension benefits for some states. Now, I'm going to just stay with Lagos. Okay. And in Lagos, an ex-governor and a deputy would have 2 houses, one in Lagos and in Abuja. Cars, 6 brand new, replaceable every 3 years.
After office, after
leaving office.
Interesting.
That's what I'm reading now. Furniture, 300% of annual basic salary for furniture to be paid every 2 years. Of course, pension is 2.5 million naira monthly. Domestic staff, several. There was no figure to that. Health, free medicals, immediate family members. That's the people that the free medicals are going to, cover. On security, 8 policemen and 2 DSS operatives for life. House maintenance, 10% of annual basic salary. Car maintenance, 30% of annual basic salary. Entertainment, 10% of annual basic salary, while utilities, 20% of annual basic salary. Personal assistance, 25% of the governor's annual basic salaries. Now, this is facts reeled out by StatiSense. And of course, this is not made up from any one of us here. So, Mr. Akin, you wanted to react to what Moses asked earlier. Reading out all of this.
My reaction is going to be summarized by saying it is a criminal enterprise, it is inhumane, it is wicked, it is odious. There are a few odious vermins Not many of them. We know them, we see them, we hail them, we put them, call them politicians. I also call them their associates and cohorts who have put this together. But I like to just do a bit of an entangling before we marched all this into politics. One, Governor Alex Otti of Abia State stands tall, taller than his height, in character, in capacity, and determination for repealing the Life Pensions Act. You just read them out. They are highly, highly commendable. And when we begin to talk about peer review, I want to believe in my heart of hearts so far that history is going to be kind on this gentleman for daring, I dare say. Serap coming in, I begin to have a little bit of a challenge. Where I have the challenge is directing that at the president. I don't know. The president, there are 22 states that are in this criminal enterprise so far that have been turning around and putting things together. I like to say in the heels of Governor Otti, should also state it as it is. I know that in Lagos State, again, criminal enterprise that we should not get, just like the others. But we still had people who stood different. Raji Fashola allegedly has said that he's not been drawing pensions. That is commendable. And he was not drawing pensions, and he was minister. A couple of others, I know Saraki allegedly says he's not part of that. The whole thing is convoluted. If you say we are running a federation,
it's now a thing of choice. Some will say, okay, their moral standing will make them not to draw, but others may just be quiet about it.
So
now,
therefore,
Serap pointing a finger at the president, don't you think it's because the president was one time a governor in Lagos?
Is he addressing the president as former governor? No, I don't think
as
so.
As one who is
my understanding is that Serap came and was referring to that court ruling. November 2019,
November 2019, yes.
And all that, and said that we need to. In fact, that ruling was very, 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 very clear. And until that is appealed, that is the normal. But I am saying Serap should not be talking about the president. Serap should be encouraging those that we already know. Citizens have stated them. And where is the Labour Congress? The Labour Congress will always say it's Tinubu. I am not saying Tinubu should not. But we are in a vehicle that will take us nowhere. We are not running a federation. And I don't want us to dilute what Governor Otti has done. Now, I think, in my honest opinion, former President Olusegun Obasanjo put it much more succinctly, more than Serap. Serap, you are going out there for a moral good, but please, let's be clear. Don't let us entangle things we should not entangle. If you are making a point that the President Bola Tinubu was former governor of Lagos State and you know he's still drawing pensions, then say that clearly. You should not now be convoluting and be talking about making sure President Bola Tinubu cannot compel. He cannot compel that on the states because we are running a quasi-federation.
Why can't he compel states, knowing fully well that states, as it is run now, get their revenue from the FAC allocation?
He has no power to do that. Constitutionally, he has no power to do that.
But he's been meddling in affairs of some
No.
states. Is that
Is-
a
no,
power
no,
that,
get it
that
straight,
he wields
Moses.
as well?
He can persuade. And you've seen him plead.
Okay.
So he can persuade. He has no such powers. And if he has no such powers, then all of us are in a rat race.
Isn't there the possibility of him leaving the example and also saying to the states, I don't want this anymore for now?
David, what example are you talking about? Look, I need to be very clear. I don't want to be holy. What example? Of course, he can say, for instance, I've been governor of Lagos State. I need a declaration. I don't know. I don't want to hear. I don't want to go with rumor that he's still drawing such pension from Lagos
Absolutely
State.
appreciate.
So,
not
having said all that, don't let us not be bottom. If you begin to say this the way,
no. We're not focusing on
what
the president.
Governor
the
Otti.
president. We're not
Yes, the
focusing on
focus will be
Serap
on what
now.
Governor Otti.
We're not focusing on Serap as well.
Yes.
What
What Governor Otti has done is a good thing, and all other governors
Like you rightly
should follow
said,
suit.
Rajiv Fashola of Lagos has come out to say he's not drawing pensions. So, I mean,
Saraki has also said that he's not drawing pension.
yes. Now, for Serap to point at the president, maybe the president should also come out to say, look, I'm not drawing pensions. Or if I am drawing, I put a stop to it. Now, maybe that way, we will not, Serap will not look at the president, and Nigerians will not be looking at the president to, put this at the table of the president. But now let's look at why is it that Nigerians, especially those at the helm of affairs, have found it difficult to obey court orders? I mean, there is a court order asking that this be stopped since 2019. It hasn't been stopped. States has been reeled out, states that have passed it. We have 22 states. Some of them are Akwa Ibom, Edo, Delta, Ekiti, Kano, Gombe, Yobe, Borno, Bauchi, Abia, Imo, Bayelsa, Oyo, Osun, Kwara, Ondo, Ebonyi, Rivers, Niger, Kogi, and Katsina states. These states, some states that have passed the pension laws. Now we're having Alex Otti repealing that law. Some governors, some former governors as well, that have been receiving, include Godswill Akpabio, who is also the president of the Senate now. We have Rabiu Musa Kwankwaso of Kano. We have Kabiru Gaya of Kano as well, Theodore Oji of Abia, Abdullahi Adamu of Nasarawa, Sam Egu of Ebonyi. We have Shaba Lafiaji of Kwara. We have Joshua Dariye of Plateau. We have Jonah Jang of Plateau as well. These governors have been receiving.
Again, at the risk of sounding like a broken record.
No, we are emphasizing here, so it's okay if you repeat things.
I disagree, and I'm careful. I am not the spokesperson for the president.
Of course.
But I know that in Nigeria, beyond the pensions that we are talking about, everything happens in Kwara Namoda is the president. Everything is talking about wage or no wage payments, supplementation is the president. We are not being serious. So it is like a quest for power. Just go and get the hearts of presidency. When subnationals should be looked at, we have states that have enacted these laws. And nothing has been done about them. It just has to be president. We are dissipating our energies elsewhere. Now you asked a very critical question. Why is it that we don't obey the rule of law? Now today, yes, of course, we know that Nigeria is turned into a lawless criminal estate. We know that. And that has now been extended into our elections, into our selections, into allowing our base sentiments about religion, clan, ethnicity to now then come into it that if my own man gets there, he will close his eyes and then allow things to happen. Nigeria has not been governed in the stricto sensu with the rule of law. That is the truth. We have a constitution, even if it's a wobbling and fumbling, that has been observed in the reverse. And people have always kept quiet. Now we have NGOs, we have you here and I talking about this. What are the people doing? Serap is coming out. Nice objective. But slitting it elsewhere. If you are going to be looking at, you see, this is where I think coloration of politics come into it. Bola Tinubu, you must. Bola Tinubu. Then what happened to good old Jonathan? Somebody's not even talking about Obasanjo himself. Obasanjo was a military officer in this country, should naturally be drawing pensions from the military. Then he's still drawing pensions from the presidency. I don't know. So, Serap should direct the funds. If you want to make it a correction, Mr. President, Nigeria is not being ruled properly. No, you are not going to be saying.
Are you very certain that former President Olusegun Obasanjo is drawing pensions from?
I say I don't know.
Okay.
Just like I said, I don't know whether Bola Tinubu is still drawing pension. If Bola Tinubu allegedly is still drawing pension, ask yourself that question. What for? If Akpabio is still drawing pensions, I beg to understand. What for? If not for greed and the fact that Nigeria is not being properly run.
All right.
What should therefore happen is that this house has broken. I keep on saying it. If the house has broken, we need to find a way to rebuild, but not by throwing banks. Next time you are going to hear is the Labour Congress. We will now then go. It has to be Tinubu. It has to be Tinubu. Let's all be very clear that we have processes and certain things that should happen. Has anybody gone to picket those state assemblies? It has to be Tinubu, and Tinubu has to be the one that will now have to go and. No, it's not going to work that way.
You seem to have. You seem to be more passionate about the fact that the president's name was mentioned in this.
No.
Because that's
I'm passionate about efficiency here.
Okay.
And I'm not for.
But some would say the buck stops at the table of the head of an organization.
Exactly. So who is the head of the organization in Abia State before Otti came? The president? Come on. We are joking. The head of the organization was the governor and at the state assemblies. If these people are not prepared to see eye to eye with what Nigerians are doing, a Daniel came to justice in Alex Otti and he's doing the right things. Let's commend him. And let's ask every other governor. They are looking at him and they know the law, they know the rule. It's not President Bola Tinubu. But President Bola Tinubu can then begin to now influence, plead. The same president that we are all looking at said was pleading with state governors. I have given you so much allocation so far. Please play the supplement. He cannot, he will not, and he has no power to compel them to do that.
All right. Is there the possibility?
So that is the constitution we are ruling.
Is there the possibility that Serap is trying to bring to the fold for Nigerians to understand that there is and there has been a decree from a court to stop these kind of pensions, and then the people who are the heads of affairs are not taking it serious? Is there the possibility of Serap trying to educate Nigerians?
David, you want us to play Palungo on this matter? So we need Serap to come and remind us.
Is there the possibility that Nigerians are also not aware that there is a court order?
It's not possible. It's not possible. We all knew. And we've told and we kept on going. And that is the reason why our politics have now become a do or die.
Can it be excused that but the pepper seller on the streets does not have an idea?
So if the pepper seller does not know, communication then has to be direct and not politicized. I am seeing a form of politicization that is not going to take us elsewhere. It was said to Jonathan. It was said, in fact, before that time, it was said to Obasanjo. Did they do anything? Could they have done anything? No. So it's the reason why we need the subnationals. The people who hold the helm of power in this country are the subnationals. They are the religious leaders. They are the cult leaders. They are the non-state actors. And the earlier we wake up and smell the coffee and say things cannot continue to go like this, we are talking about security, Moses. We are talking about security. You expect any president under the kind of constitution that we have will be able to resolve our security problem? Will be able to resolve our educational jackpot problem? We are joking. We need to all come sit together. We need the persuasion and the strength that Otti has made, the slight persuasion and strength that the federal government itself is making in getting back to the Rufai report, should be courageous enough to say that Nigeria is negotiable. We must sit together and resolve it, because we don't see things in the same direction. Today, 287 people are captured. As I'm telling you, maybe tomorrow, and criminal enterprise all over. And we keep on just sketching around it. For us to now then look at, Serap has its moral objective. Moses was trying to make a point. I looked as if I am trying to defend the president. The president has so many fetters. We know we need him to lead by example. No doubt about that, within his presidency. But beyond that, he needs to be able to set the right tone, which is what we are saying. But he cannot compel people who are stealing Nigeria blind at all other levels.
Let's bring it home. What do you think could have been the challenge and the major reason why these court orders are not being followed?
Because we operate something that management experts will call a Pareto analysis, and it's a strategy. Pareto analysis says that if you have 100, about 20% will command the economy, the security, and for their prebendal purpose, to be able to take the resources of the state, sit on it, and continue to lord it over the 80. If the 80, like the Bolsheviks, okay, are not able to revolt, sorry to say, by way of a revolution, even something similar to what happened in Ghana, I am not prescribing it, and get the bald heads out of town. If we cannot make a decision to eat our cake and then say we are going to have it, if you are not able to get them out, they will never cede. They will never cede that kind of advantage, because they will never cede that advantage. They have infiltrated the military, they've infiltrated the judiciary, they've infiltrated the churches, the mosques. So everything is, and the only way, because at the end of the day they all come back to now back it by kind of law, is that law that we call a ground norm, the Constitution, is not been set out to make Nigeria thrive. We have to break that down. It's simple. Daddy, yeah, I'm talking about my son now. Daddy, I know you've sent me to school. Daddy, I know you've paid you don't need another, but Daddy, certain things are not working. I said, what do you know? Yes, I think I know a little bit more. There are a few things that you see that I thought I didn't see, but I see better now. And the only way to tell you the truth is that you, the king in the house, you are dancing naked. That is bold. And those boldness we now have to now then come and gather ourselves around the table and decide on how to administer Nigeria. Nigeria was not like this before.
Now, sorry to interrupt. In the House,
elite consensus to now decide and make a point to govern Nigeria. We don't have a consensus.
All right.
The elite in the south is looking at things different from the way the elites in the north are. We have to accept some of these things. It's important.
Now, in the how to
Yes.
ensure that governance is properly administered and the people get to feel it.
Yeah.
The judiciary has passed a judgment. In this particular case now, talking about this particular case, 2019, judgment has been passed. And we do know that the judiciary doesn't have the power to execute.
Of course not.
That rests in the executive. Now, that judgment passed by the judiciary
Yeah.
has basically been resting on some members of the executive to implement. So
Right.
here we are.
I agree.
We see an executive deciding to implement this judgment. That's talking about the person of Alex Otti.
Right.
Deciding to implement this judgment
Right.
that has been robbing the people blind,
Yes.
enriching a few against the 80, and enriching a 20 against the 80.
Right.
Like, like the illustration that you used. Is there something else that the judiciary can do? Are there actions that the judiciary can take to ensure that its judgments are carried out?
You asked a very interesting question, and then you now have to come into process, laws, rules, and the fact that we are a federation. The judiciary has passed a judgment. What the executive could do is, if that judgment is not acceptable to them, you go on appeal. Has an appeal been filed, or has the Minister for Justice and Attorney General has decided one way or the other to do another prosecute, and they decide that, look, this is not going to see the light of day. But having said that, there's also the second level. Why do we have the National Assembly? The National Assembly is, their main duty is to, promulgate laws. And laws have been promulgated one way or the other. And the justice system has said no. So what is the National Assembly waiting for? We have the power to invoke and do something about calling the executive to order. Impeach them. Now, the road to impeachment, it is tough and tedious. It still comes back to the judiciary. Will the chief judge now have the willpower that has been appointed by the subnational head? I am trying to paint a picture to see how all these things have come. And then our religious leaders will now then come and say, I say you are the one. You are the anointed one. And all that. Pulling the wool over the rest of us. So the National Assembly have not done what they need to do. The criminal enterprise, and that is why President Obasanjo made that call, is a criminal, it's an enterprise. It does not involve, this is not a matter of just looking at Bola Tinubu. This is not a matter of looking at the former governors in any of these 22 states. People have been settled down the line to do what? And when you are eating on the table, what do? You obey table manners, you keep quiet. And everybody has now kept quiet, and Nigeria has continually gone from bad to worse. Again, at the risk of politicizing, I am also saying, perhaps Governor Otti has looked beyond him. He has seen one or two people on moral grounds. They were not compelled. And they said, we are not going to draw. Come on. What is all this? I don't want to continue to draw pension. I am not a hungry person. When you make politics a situation where you have to pay, and some people are already saying that let's make it part-time. Let's make the National Assembly and the State Assemblies part-time. Are we ready to embark on that? And the only thing I see, I'm afraid, it sounds a bit insensitive on my part. People carrying placard and going to Abuja. People carrying placard and going to Abuja, and then you leave the leprosy that you should try and cure out there. Nigeria as an enterprise has become so criminal. So I commend Otti. I commend him because this is about the second thing. Again, I don't want to go into politics of it. This is about the second thing we are seeing coming out of there. Other state governors are already looking at that angle. President Bola Tinubu said, look, it can happen out there. Please go and copy. However, Moses, in asking for somebody to go and copy, you first of all look at yourself. I still believe that this president needs a lot of introspection and looking at himself in making sure that not only just the rule of law, the persuasive element, he has persuaded state, he did it in Ondo State. He did it in Rivers State. More of such persuasion by leading by example, yes, but he cannot compel. And because he cannot compel, I want this thing to have the wind of the sail of law. We must get back to our constitutional review.
All right.
And do what is right to make it a compulsion that it should not happen. And it starts with the states.
All right, sir. That will be a good place to anchor this conversation.
Oh, well, let's, because of our time, let's just dive into our next conversation. Now, World Tuberculosis Day 2024 sheds light on Nigeria's persistent tuberculosis crisis. These and more when we return after this quick break. Stay with us.